BYDFi is a crypto exchange on desktop and mobile where you can spot trade, futures trade, use leverage tokens, and copy the trades of top trade. There's hundreds of crypto available on their spot exchange, as well as a free test account so you can practice futures trading without getting wrecked. BYDFi. Good morning, everybody. Let's get stuck into the price action as Bitcoin's down 9%, probably even more since every time I blink it keeps going down. Well, who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? I'll tell you who would have thought it. Me. So looking at this on the weekly, since we've actually really pulled back significantly over the last couple of days, really emphasized mostly yesterday by the S&P and stocks in general, which I'll let into a little secret. I'm basically using this chart as the overall indicator of Bitcoin and crypto health. It sounds like a cheat sheet, but it's not really. And I'm sure I've told you this and bored you to death with all of this. But the bear market, which is this, bang, 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 bang. It's such a neat and tidy bear market. Everything bounced 1, 2, 3, and then allocation of we'll call it confirmation of the uptrend. Everything was good. Everything was good back then, and I'll be looking at the same thing to happen again. So we can digest the total too. We can digest the Bitcoin dominance. We can even digest Bitcoin. Well, we should really think about the main thing, which is stock market, and it's all very much correlated. You wanted ETFs, you've got them. Now you've got huge correlation, and that's fine. In fact, I prefer that in many ways because. Just to reiterate one last time, the S&P is a very neat and tidy chart, very neat indeed. And if that is how we're going to use the S&P as a leading indicator for Bitcoin and then crypto and altcoins as a result, then I'm happy with that because, like I say, neat and tidy, it should give us a bit more of an educated guess as to where the market's going to bottom, even if it doesn't present that it's going to bottom on its own. However, that said, Bitcoin is coming down to our major support at this point now. This is the first time we've touched this, and we've not done it yet, but this will be the first time we've come close to the 20 moving average, your weekly Bollinger Band Center, which, for the most part is usually a great place to find any kind of long-term allocation from if you believe we're in a bull market still. I still think we're in a bull market. I just think that this is consolidation, and I've been talking about consolidation for what feels like a long, long time. So we should have been prepared for it. I know I am. I'm definitely sure that some of my Patreons are and people on their Telegram are, because, we live in the real world. So what we're looking at here is a bounce probably around 55,500 to maybe as high as the 21 exponential was around just above 56,000. So really not far away from where we're at right now. As far as the weekly is concerned, we just want to come down. That's all we want to do. We want to come down. Fresh cross here. So, this could just be a pit stop. A bounce from here could be pretty sweet, quite substantial in fact, but then nothing more than another lower high on the weekly, which means, rejection maybe even as high as 65, 66,000, and then back down to the 50, and we'll see where we go from there. I did suggest other targets on the Patreon. I'm not going to say it to you guys because I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of hate on the comments for things that I say, regardless of if I believe them or not. Obviously, I only talk about things that I think are real, because this is how I make my money, remember that, okay? This is my living. I can't sell myself hopium, otherwise I'll be working at McDonald's, wouldn't I? Right, so what we're looking at here is that pullback. And then again, if we hit it today, then it's worth a shot. But the beauty of finding a place on a chart like this is that it doesn't take long to know if you're wrong. It's one of my all-time favourite catchphrases, all highlighting the emphasis on risk management. So if you were to take a position here, you can set a relatively tight stop loss, because if it goes wrong, then you're stopped out. You live to fight another day. I'll be keeping my eyes peeled on it personally, and I'll also be using this area here as an indicator for altcoins, because altcoins are in free fall mode, usually emphasizing what Bitcoin does. Usually, although the Bitcoin dominance chart is moving down surprisingly for the moment, which is, it is what it is. And so, you could think about altcoins bouncing all around here as well. Again, you're looking at Bitcoin as the chart, and then altcoins to bounce through association with that. But, it might not happen. You've got to be careful. You've got to be very careful. Because this pullback here could get nastier. And again, I'm not going to tell you max targets because you're going to think I'm crazy. I'll get so much hate, even though I suppose any kind of engagement on the comments is better than no engagement whatsoever. So maybe I'll just do what other people do and say things that are upsetting so I can get engagement. Go on then, I'll tell you. You know, we could see our price action fall all the way down to a 200 simple moving average, which is sitting currently around $34,000. You got to be joking, right? Nah, I'm not joking. I'm not saying it's the most likely scenario. We've got these areas around here, also the 200 exponential. So we got tops. We can also wind it back a little further, and we have these bottoms as well. Again, roughly around the $30,000 zone. Oh, Jesus. That's right, I've said it. Now, just because I've highlighted it doesn't mean that I expect it. Now, that doesn't mean it's the most likely. It's certainly not the most likely, but it's possible. So I'm just going to put it there, a little line on the screen, and if you want to engage with me aggressively on the comments, feel free to do so. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm personally looking for a bounce here, which would be a dead cat bounce to take you as much as $65,000, $66,000. No more than that, I would imagine. Take it to a 4 hourly. What do we see? We're looking for divergences of anything to give someone some kind of hopium if you're refusing to sell. For the hodlers particularly, I suppose, because it's not your intention to sell, I would imagine. Not really. We've got a tiny dribble of bullish divergence. I wouldn't count it as anything. It's only a 4 hourly, and again, we're falling like below major supports, breaking structure, and continuing with a downtrend. And really, I know that we've highlighted that Bollinger Band sensor on the weekly, which is definitely a decent support, but below that, it's down just below $51,000, and it can happen. Some of these other altcoins that we're looking at, I suppose, Ethereum, now we can see the death cross retest, so obviously the invalidation of any potential alt season since we were rejected from there. So we've got the opposite of alt season, alt carnage right now. Daily, coming down to, again, significant areas on the daily, 2,700 and 2,600. So these areas on Ethereum are definitely worth trying if you're that way inclined. Again, it doesn't take much, doesn't take long to know if you're wrong. One of my favourites, and I'm waiting for this to happen, we're coming quite close down to our first buy zone for VeChain. Now, look, as we've approached it quite fast, I think I might leave it. All right, I think I might leave it. I'll see. My intention was to pick it up around this weekly golden cross, which is just around 3 cents. I remember making the video last week when we were sitting around 4 cents, and someone says, if you really want to buy it, just buy it now. If you think it's going to go up over time, just buy it now. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. There's more to this chart than just its own chart, remember. VeChain is Ethereum, is Bitcoin, is S&P, is Dixie. And what's the Dixie doing? Well, we broke out yesterday, didn't we? That's a fine breakout. That's what it is. It's a breakout. So breakout targets can take us up towards 107 and maybe 107.9. So we've got further to run on this Dixie breakout. And look, resistances, you expect rejection from them. Doesn't always happen. They can break. And if they do break, it'll get pretty nasty for the dollar. Obviously, the dollar is going to love it because the dollar's going up in value. I'll also be loving it because I'm holding lots of dollars. But yeah, everything else will keep coming down. Now, was it the CPI today or the FOMC? I can't recall. To be honest with you, I can't recall. Something's going on today. Fed press conference. Oh, and then Fed, yeah. So the Fed's going to be talking rates. So I don't know about you, but my personal expectation is that they're just going to leave it unchanged. The market is not needing any kind of rate hike. It's certainly not going to want a rate cut. The market is just basically going to keep falling as it should do normally. This is normal. It's perfectly normal for this to happen. This is nothing extraordinary. This is perfectly normal. Some people are going to call this a crash. Some people are going to call it like the end. It's not. It's really not. We've been expecting this for ages. Now we're getting it. It's exactly as predicted. Almost to the month, really. I did say the consolidation is really going to take place throughout the summer and should end at the end of summer. You know, and that's an educated guess. I can't tell the future, but you know, based on what we see, You know, I reckon the S&P is likely to bottom around this 4,700. I think it's unlikely it comes down further than that, but it could. The S&P also, you know, wanting to hold its Bollinger Band center on the weekly, but if that breaks, then yeah, we are coming down to these lower targets over time. Over time, don't see any reason for this to turn around. It should have started bouncing today. It hasn't. It's going to continue. Bitcoin probably being a leading indicator now at this point for the pre-market. And S&P is just in general. We've seen it before. This is a nasty drop on Bitcoin now, and it's just going to continue, I would imagine, over time. So, without boring anybody more, you know, it is relatively simple. I would expect to see some kind of support around this 55,000 to 56,000. It's not the support that's likely to hold. It will hold, and you'll see hopefully and probably a bounce, maybe even a significant bounce. But after that, we will come back down to it and we will break it. And 50,000 or 51,000 is the next target, really. And if that gets lost, then yeah, we can then talk about how deep this can really go. And the deeper the better. The deeper the better. That's all I can say, because if you've done what I've been doing, we took all our positions, our altcoin positions in October last year. So just let's go back in time to what October looks like. It looked like this, didn't it? September, October. And this is just VeChain. Many charts. All altcoins look the same. And remember what it was like back here in October when you were making those buys, if you did at all. People called you a idiot. VeChain's pretty lame, really, as far as allocations are concerned. But some of the better ones that we did was R&D. I'm not saying I bought the bottom and sold the top, but it was definitely buying lots of altcoins in October, and that's where the alt season really kicked in. It kind of finished around March. I was scaling out around December, January, and by March I was pretty much in a large cash position, 70 to 80%, and that's more or less where I've stayed, really, and thank goodness for that. Now the trick here is to not get too clever, not buy every single dip. You know, if you've got an edge for trading and you've got attention to detail and you're paying attention to the trades and you're employing strict risk management, then yeah, of course it's a trader's market, and you can make money up and down. But if you want to be a bit more guarded, you want to wait for confirmations of lows. And at the moment, we're not going to get anything like that. In fact, despite the probability of bouncing from here, which is quite high, the likelihood is, given what we're looking at on the S&P, I think we will break this for Bitcoin, and then we really are just going to be focused on increments on the way down. 50,000, and it's probably even the lower 40s, really, which educated guess is that we probably, if we do lose 50,000, then we start to see some building blocks around there. But this is still quite early days, so it's not always going to be red. In fact, I would imagine if we get tagged here and we go up, then tomorrow will be a significant bounce for crypto. Significant, and a lot of this is going to depend on what the old men say today in their meeting, because that will have implications for the rest of the market. However, based on how the market has been behaving this last 24 hours, I think that the market has almost priced that in. You know, they know. They're not stupid. The market is not stupid. And when you learn to play the market, you become the market, really. And we've been talking about high CPI inflation creeping up because we've recognised that oil has been on a tear up. And again, another chart that we've managed to make the most out of here. Stressed the importance of buying this 200 simple moving average on the weekly, which has had decent rallies, 25% each time. We've had a few opportunities for that. Now oil is coming down a little bit, probably not getting ready to wash out late longs, to just continue up into the 90s. So CPI inflation is probably going to creep higher over the summer, and that is not going to be a good environment for the prospect of lowering rates, which was basically what everybody was talking about, including me, around December, saying that there's a likelihood of that happening. Not since we saw oil moving. And as soon as we see oil move and now break out, I think the chances of anything like that is far away. The next more exciting way to try to base any kind of upside in all markets based around inflation or CPI going up or down would be when we get a rejection on oil. And based on what we see right now, I think we're going to get a washout. I think we're going to get a bounce, and the next major rejection is going to be around the $93 zone, really. That could mark the top for oil, which could also mark the next peak of inflation about a month after that, because CPI is delayed data, isn't it? This is up to date, second by second data. CPI obviously normally takes a month, 6 weeks or something to filter that data through to to an official record, right? So a lot to think about, but also pretty much nothing to think about. My advice to Patreons last night was one of relax, chill out. You've got the cash, you want to buy. You don't necessarily need to make money today, because the biggest gains are going to be much later on down the line. You know, we've made loads of money since October through to December. We made, hundreds of percent during that period. We're going to do that again, but it's not going to happen today. It probably won't happen this summer. It will start to happen at the end of this year and into next year. That's my general projection of how this market's going to go. So the best thing for you to do, I would say, would be make a plan. What is it that you think you want to buy, and why? Is it a stock? Is it an index? Is it indices? Is it an ETF? Is it an altcoin? Is it Bitcoin itself? What is it that you want to buy? You need to make a shopping list now. Not to buy today or tomorrow, but to make sure that you know what you're going to do and why you're going to do it. For when the time comes, when these lower prices get tagged, that you're not flapping around, panicking with no plan. You have to make a plan. See how important it is to make a plan? Exiting around December into January, it was very important to do that. And now what we're seeing is, that cash position really, it's the best place to be, isn't it? Dollar up, assets down. And am I flapping around, panicking? No, I'm kind of enjoying it. Because it means not only that I was right, because I'm not bothered about being right or wrong. I'm just bothered about making money and preserving loss. Preserving gains and avoiding losses, which is what I'm doing. And the next plan would be to buy significantly lower and enjoy those massive gains, which I believe are most likely to come, a year from now, but from a lower zone. It's all part of the plan, guys. It's all part of the plan. Enjoy it and make your own plan, and we can destroy this market once again. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, comment, everything, just to help the channel out, because there's a lot of people out there pushing hopium and pushing ridiculous narratives and completely ill-advising everybody who watches those. And I would imagine a lot of those people have got completely wrecked. Right, thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.